One night in the city of Barcelona, a man named Maximo appears to be calling his son, Ander, to ask if he is ready as they intend to leave Barcelona after Maximo has finished his work. Maximo arrives at a Colombian drug manufacturing factory. Maximo's stepbrother, Lucero, is seen entering the factory, while Maximo and one of their best friends, a man named Rafa, are asked to remain to wait in the car. Lucero then meets the factory owner named Romeo to pay him a fee, because Romeo is willing to support Lucero's father as the elected presidential candidate who will lead all criminal organizations in Europe. However, Romeo also put forward a condition that his son will also be appointed as an important official. Meanwhile, Lucero's father is on his way with Lucero's stepsister, Maria, for the election which starts in half an hour. However, Romeo was surprised when he opened the bag, which he thought contained money, turned out to be his son's head. A shootout between Lucero's henchmen and Romeo's henchmen is inevitable. After killing some of Romeo's men, Lucero then asks Rafa to call his father, and tell him that Romeo has run away and the election is a trap. Lucero then asked Maximo to slaughter all of Romeo's men, as well as the factory workers. Maximo actually doesn't like Lucero's way of slaughtering everyone indiscriminately, including unarmed factory workers. However, Maximo still vows to be loyal to his family and also to Lucero's father, who has considered him as his own biological son. Lucero, who knows that his father will come there, then asks Maximo to go and start a new life with his son. Not long after, Lucero's father finally arrived there, and was furious to see what Lucero had done. Whereas in the past, he sent Lucero to Japan to learn about the meaning of loyalty and high self-esteem, but what Lucero learned was the brutality of the Yakuza. While his father is scolding him, Lucero signals one of his most formidable henchmen, a man named Chulemo, to kill his father's bodyguards, including Maria, who is also there. Realizing this, Maria sneaks away before being killed by Lucero's henchmen. Lucero then pointed a gun at his father, where he intended to kill him and take his place as leader. Before killing his father, Lucero reveals how much he hates him, because his father loves Maria and Maximo, who are adopted children, to which his father answered head. He shot his father in the head, killing him. Chulemo then appears there and tells Lucero that Maria managed to escape. The scene then switches, and shows Maximo, who has arrived at his house. Maximo then hugged his son tightly, and handed a key to the nanny. However, unbeknownst to Maximo, the nanny then gave the key to a mysterious man in exchange for some money. While Ander was playing his favorite guitar, he noticed an intruder in his house. Maximo immediately told Ander to hide, and not long after, a group of people attacked Maximo's house. At first, Maximo could fight back and take them all down on his own. But then, a man named Finito comes and shoots Maximo from behind. Finito then shoots Ander to death, right in front of Maximo, who screams bitterly at the death of his one and only son. After immobilizing Maximo until he was helpless, Finito rushed outside and reported the incident to Lucero, who turned out to be the one who ordered him to kill Maximo and his son. 2 years later, a young man named Leo was seen approaching his girlfriend, Daniela. Leo is a drug dealer in the campus where he studies and the surrounding area. Deciding to look into the garage, the two of them see Maximo, who is still alive and is training his physique and practicing martial arts in earnest. That night, Leo went home and gave the money from selling drugs to his mother, who did not know Leo's job as a drug dealer. Leo then gave a gift to his beloved younger brother for his birthday. Not long after, Leo receives a call from his supplier, a man named Jairo, who turns out to be Lucero's subordinate, asks Leo to sell drugs in the territory of Russian gangsters. Leo immediately turned it down because the Russians would be furious if they sold drugs on their territory. But Jairo kept forcing him, so Leo had no other choice but to obey his orders. Arriving at the place, Leo managed to sell several packs of heroin, before his actions were caught by the Russians, who then arrested Leo and beat him in a deserted alley. At the same time, Maximo turned out to be there and tried to help Leo by beating the Russians, and leaving immediately after that. Leo then got up and tried to chase Maximo until he arrived at an old garage where Maximo had lived all this time. Leo also thanked Maximo for helping him. While Maximo was treating Leo's wound, he asked Maximo if he could play the guitar. Maximo said the guitar belonged to his late son, Ender, and he couldn't play it. Talking about Ender, Maximo also recalled the terrible incident 2 years ago when Ender was killed in front of his eyes. After that incident, Maximo is determined to take revenge on Lucero. But his stepbrother disappeared somewhere, and Maximo had a hard time figuring out Lucero's whereabouts.
Solo tenemos una oportunidad para cazar a Lucero.
The next day, Leo asks Maximo to teach him self-defense, and he will teach Maximo to play the guitar in return. Maximo agreed to Leo's request and immediately taught him some basic martial arts techniques. Before leaving, Leo wrote down his phone number on a piece of paper so that Maximo could call him any time. Elsewhere, Lucero is seen gambling with his business partners. After that, he called Rafa and told him that he planned to return to Barcelona as soon as possible. Lucero apparently intends to take over the leadership of the mafia, which is now held by Dmitri, the Russian crime lord. While Leo is on campus, Jairo calls him and asks him to return to selling drugs in the territory of the Russian gangsters. But Leo refused and immediately hung up the phone. Jairo seemed annoyed that Leo refused his order and even hung up the phone. That night, Leo still went to the Russians to sell drugs, as did Jairo and his henchmen. Seeing Jairo's presence, Leo rushed off. But Jairo and his men managed to catch Leo, beat him badly, and even crushed his arm because Jairo finally found out that Leo had stolen the money from selling drugs. The next day, Maximo is surprised by the arrival of Daniela, who is looking for Leo's whereabouts. Daniela tells Maximo that Leo has stolen the money from drug sales, and it is possible that Jairo has found out and tortured Leo as punishment. Maximo then messaged Leo and asked to meet him. Maximo and Leo finally met at the church, and Leo told him everything. Maximo then asks Maria to come and help Leo, but Maria reminds Maximo of their plan and also the election of leaders of the mafia that will be held soon. In the evening, Jairo and his henchmen are seen entering a nightclub belonging to Russian gangsters. Maximo turned out to be following Jairo and went in there to take revenge for what Jairo had done to Leo. One of them seems to recognize Maximo and decides to run away. After taking down all of Jairo's minions, Maximo then crushes Jairo's hand, the same way he did to Leo.
Cuando vengáis, traer café.
After that, Maximo went to Maria's house to check on Leo's condition and teach Maria martial arts. Maria then reminded them of their plan to take revenge on Lucero when their stepbrother attended the election for the leader of the mafia. Elsewhere, Finito comes to Jairo's place and laughs at him for being beaten to a pulp. Jairo then tells Finito that the man who attacked him is dubbed the gladiator in the crime world. Hearing that name, Finito immediately realized that the man who had beaten Jero and his men was Maximo, who is still alive.
Joder, ¿cómo era?
Finito then kills Jero, and asks his henchmen about the location of Maximo and Leo's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Leo, who feels recovered, decides to return to his house, ignoring Maria and Maximo's warnings that Leo might be being targeted by Jero's gang. Maximo then drove Leo home to ensure his safety. However, how shocked Leo was when he found out that his younger brother had died covered in blood, as well as his mother and his grandfather. Finito and his henchmen were already there first, and just as they were about to kill Leo, Maximo burst in and saved him. Maximo gets into a fierce fight with Finito and his henchmen. But Finito manages to escape when an enraged Leo shoots him with bullets. Maximo immediately brought Leo back to Maria's house. As Maria treats his wound, Maximo informs that Finito now knows that he is still alive, which infuriates Maria as it will disrupt their revenge plan. Maria then came to Leo, who was crying in frustration and blaming himself for the death of his family. Maria tried to calm him down, but Leo looked so devastated that he decided to lock himself in his room. When Maximo returns to the garage where he lives, Maria calls and warns him of an imminent attack by Finito's henchmen. Maximo also prepares to face Finito's men. Using his fighting skills and his experience as a hitman, Maximo manages to overthrow Finito's minions alone. After that, Maria gave information to Maximo about a man named Urquiza, who had been in charge of organizing Lucero's money laundering activities at a nightclub called Seven Rain. Arriving at Seven Rain, Maximo is blocked by the guards because the place is closed. But Maximo doesn't care about the warning and immediately kills the guards one by one and Urquiza's henchmen who are there. Maria told Maximo that all the cash in Seven Rain would be handed over to Lucero before the election started, and the van that would carry the money would arrive in 20 minutes. Urquiza tries to escape as Maximo fights his henchmen. But Maximo managed to catch up and beat him. Maximo then left Urquiza a message and a cell phone for Lucero, before finally taking all the cash away. After that, Rafa was seen coming to Urquiza and was very surprised to see what happened in Seven Rain. Urquiza told him everything, and also about the message from Maximo, as well as the cell phone he had given. Meanwhile, Maximo was shot while fighting Urquiza's minions in Seven Rain, so Maria had to immediately remove the bullet lodged in his body. But Maximo refuses because he thinks that Lucero will come soon, and he intends to attack immediately. Leo is worried about Maximo's condition, then injects an anesthetic into Maximo's body so that Maria can immediately remove the bullet from his body. Elsewhere, Lucero, who finally arrived in Barcelona, then asked Rafa to take him to meet Urquiza. Because he did not get the information he wanted, Lucero then brutally killed Urquiza. On the other hand, Leo, who knew of Urquiza's whereabouts through a tracking device connected to Maria's computer, secretly took a gun while Maria is asleep and rushed to the place for revenge, thinking that Finito must be there too. Arriving there, Leo then pointed a gun at two men who were about to dispose of Urquiza's body. But then, Finito came and immediately beat Leo to a pulp. Chulemo, who was also there, was very surprised when Leo said that Maximo would come and get back at them, because Chulemo had thought that Maximo was dead. When Finito was about to kill Leo, suddenly Maria came and directly hit him. Seeing Leo seriously injured, Maria rushed to take Leo to the hospital. On the way, Maria tries to call Maximo, but he is still unconscious. Unbeknownst to Maria, one of Finito's henchmen followed her to the hospital and informed Finito of her whereabouts. Knowing that Maximo is still alive, Lucero looks furious and orders Finito to immediately fix the problem. On the other hand, Chilemo, who already knows the location of Maria's house, is seen visiting Maria's house and is greeted by Maximo, who has woken up. Chilemo tells Maximo that he thinks Maximo should be the leader to replace his father. But because Maximo decided to leave the crime world and start a new life with his son, Chilemo decided to devote himself to Lucero. Maximo and Chilemo then get into a fierce battle because they are both martial arts masters. Maximo then asks Chilemo where Lucero is. But because Chilemo said something that angered him, Maximo then stabbed Chilemo to death. After that, Maximo went to the hospital to check on Leo's condition, and then rushed over to Lucero. Rafa, knowing Maximo's arrival, then told Lucero to get the man ready. Arriving there, Maximo immediately killed Lucero's henchmen one by one. But then, Rafa helps him, and lets Maximo go to meet Lucero. Suddenly, one of Lucero's henchmen who was still alive, threw a grenade at Maximo and Rafa. Maximo managed to survive, but Rafa died because of that. Maximo is finally reunited with his stepbrother, Lucero, who says that the reason for doing all this is because their father loves Maximo and Maria, who are adopted children, rather than him, who is his biological child. Maximo doesn't care about that, because what he wants now is revenge for his son's death. Maximo and Lucero then duel fiercely using a katana. When Maximo overpowered Lucero, Finito then appeared, taking Maria as a hostage. Because Maximo's attention was distracted, Lucero was finally able to turn things around and beat Maximo to a pulp. Seeing this, Maria then tried to fight Finito, but she fell down and was unconscious. Lucero then orders Finito to finish off Maximo, while he will kill Maria. When he saw Lucero was about to burn Maria, Maximo immediately got up against Finito and killed him with one deadly blow. At the same time, Maria finally woke up and rose to fight Lucero. Now, Lucero alone must face the attacks of Maximo and Maria simultaneously. Together, Maximo and Maria kill Lucero. Maximo stabs him in the heart, while Maria shoots him in the head. After the incident, Maximo and Maria picked up Leo, who had recovered from the hospital, and they still had the cash from Lucero's money laundering. The film ends.